Hi, I'm Judy.
And I'm Tamara.
Welcome to Balance Not Boring, the wellness podcast that's not about extremes or perfection.
Just real conversations on balancing your mind, body, and soul in our bustling city of Dubai.
So grab your tea and get comfy with us.
Oh, and fair warning, you will learn something.
Hello. Welcome back to another episode of Balance Not Boring. If you're new here, I'm Judy, and with my co-host Tamara, we make wellness real, relatable, and inclusive. Subscribe on YouTube, Apple, or Spotify, and follow us on Balance Not Boring podcast on Instagram for the latest news. Today, we have the ultra accomplished Hadil Al Khatib on the podcast, and initially the HR expert, now turned a holistic nutrition and gut health coach. She's the founder of the Broth Lab, the Roost Rotisserie, and Kacha Matcha. Her award-winning ventures have earned her recognition, such as the Women SME Leader Award by MasterCard and Entrepreneur Middle East, Top 30 F&B winner in the GCC, Women's Leader Award, and the list goes on, frankly. After enduring years of undiagnosed health struggles, Hadil now empowers women and mothers to heal through nutrition, gut health, and self-care, blending science, holistic wisdom, and personal experience to create transformational change. Today, Hadil is going to chat to us all about things gut health using ancient remedies like bone broth. We discuss Hadil's story into gut health and how she's paving the way in the wellness world through Broth Lab, how bone broth has been used for centuries across cultures, why bone broth is trending again from glowing skin and natural detox to gut health and healing, my favorite game of true or false to debunk some myths, children's nutrition and immunity, and more. So don't go anywhere because you're really going to want to listen to this. So, Hadil, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Judy.
Tamara really wanted to see you. She loves your work. She knows you, of course, but she couldn't be here, of course, maternity duties. But we're happy to have you today. So thank you.
Thank you for
Very
having
appreciated.
me. Tamara, look after yourself.
Yeah.
You're missed.
You're so missed. I'm really trying my hardest alone here, but we're doing it. So Hadil, you have an inspiring resume of accomplishments, not only as an entrepreneur, but also as a mom who has had to overcome lots of health challenges. We're going to switch gears and first start off in your experience and your story. So can you tell us a little bit more about what happened to you after the birth of your first child?
As a mother, I went through a few health challenges postpartum.
Okay.
And I think typically we women, we talk about postpartum depression, postpartum anxiety. These are terms we often refer to when moms are not having enough sleep, they're sleep deprived, they're tired, they're fatigued. But fortunately and unfortunately, I didn't have any of those. I had something which I'm assuming was postpartum depletion.
Oh, very interesting.
Diagnosing myself because I was throughout these 3 years undiagnosed, in the sense that doctors weren't really sure how to pinpoint where my symptoms were coming from. Not that they were looking for the root cause, but mainly they wanted to put me in a box, in a category, and tell me this is what you have and this is what you should take. And I would do the conventional way of testing, obviously, the CBCs, the hormonal spectrum, etc. And everything would come back normal. And normal really didn't give me an answer. So I knocked so many different doors, tried to understand what was wrong with me. I was someone who was so career-driven in the corporate world. I was 13 years corporate, leading the human resource division in the energy sector of the capital, Abu Dhabi.
Wow.
I became a mom. I was trying as much as I can, even through working full-time in the corporate world, to still nurse my daughter, Tamara, who's almost 12 now. And amidst all that, I was struggling really to just wake up after 10 hours of sleep, 11 hours of sleep, when I would be like a firecracker after 6 hours of sleep. I would wake up. I loved what I did. I loved my job. And that all changed when Tamara was about a year and a half in. And I didn't have the answers.
You just didn't know.
I just didn't know.
You were like, why am I not feeling like myself?
Yes. I mean, the symptoms were on a spectrum, they would say. They wouldn't know. So one day I would be bloated, tired, fatigued, couldn't get up. And another day I would be fine, but I would have bone aches.
Yes.
I would have the brain fog overcome. So it was, again, the holistic approach to things. Our body works, with it as a whole.
In a system, exactly.
And I think the doctors that I was visiting at the time, of course, were not trying to demean anyone in the healthcare. Doctors save lives.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's amazing how they help us in every other way. But for me, it wasn't the answers I was looking for. And I took matters in my own hands. I enrolled myself in a nutrition school. I wanted to understand really what it is that heals us, what it is that really makes us sick, what we should be eating. Because throughout those visits, nobody was telling me anything about how nutrition plays a role and how it could maybe not cure my symptoms, but at least put it at ease. There was no correlation, no relationship, not even discussion, a high-level discussion about maybe what I was eating could have triggered even more pain, nothing.
Exactly.
And that's why I wanted to empower myself and I wanted to learn more, but I also didn't want to Dr. Google my way through the answers. At the time, ChatGPT wasn't, up and running. There was a lot of Googling and I didn't want to do that anymore. It was messing with my mental health as well.
Yeah.
And I wanted credible, backed by research, scientific results and answers. And after I graduated 3 years in, I took more advanced courses in gut microbiome and hormonal balance and other, different courses. And I fell in love with everything I learned with the gut. Information that were not known, that were not common. And, it made sense. There was a lot of aha moments during my studying. I was like, oh my God. So that's why this is related to this.
Yeah.
And that's why when I would come closer to my cycle, I will feel these symptoms. But when I'm closer to my ovulation, I would feel those other symptoms. And it made complete sense. But, with that empowerment, I had hope.
Yes.
And hope is what really took me to the journey of healing, along with all the different, the guinea pig that I am, all the other things that I incorporated from my knowledge in nutrition, really paved the way for me to be where I am today.
Do you think the mind-body connection was there? Like when you felt a little bit more happy, did you feel like your body was following suit and you were healing yourself?
100%. I was reading this research about a lot of the cancer patients, usually when they don't know that they're battling cancer or for whatever reason they're not told by their family members, they live longer.
Wow.
And others, when they're told that you have 3 months, 6 months, usually that's the case. And it's because you're really taking away that sense of hope.
Yes.
What are we humans but hope?
It's
hope
all
that
about
tomorrow's
outlook.
going to be better. Hope tomorrow's going to be productive. That tomorrow we're going to see our little ones grow stronger, healthier. If it's not for tomorrow, what are we? We're a shell. And I think hope played a huge role. We talk a lot about the gut-brain axis.
Yes. And they say it's like the first brain, actually.
It is.
Tell me about that. What did you learn about this?
So if you think about it, especially that we're mothers in the womb, so the fetus is connected to our umbilical cord. This is how they feed off of us. They're a bit like parasites, right? That's how the baby is.
Literally.
And if you think about it, the brain is not formed first. It's through the umbilical cord that they are formed the first few weeks until the brain is fully formed. So really, everything starts here. So it's really the first brain that then controls how all the other parts of the body is created.
Wow.
And then the brain, in the end, towards the end, is formed. So whatever it is, first brain or second brain, it is very important to look after our gut.
Yeah. And what drew you to the gut? I know you had your own experiences. So you said you overall had body aches and everything. So how did you come to conclusion that the gut was what could be the repair mechanism for you? And then you obviously went on to study about it.
Yeah, I mean, because I said my symptoms were vague,
Okay.
but because I was in so much doubt, I wanted to start somewhere. And we all know the foundation of health starts in the gut, right? So I thought, let me start with cleaning out my gut, literally. I want to start there with trying all the remedies that I learned. I want to incorporate all the healing things that repairs and heals and seals the gut. And let me take it from there. But as I was doing that, that was the answer. The answer was all in healing my gut. My hormones went back, stabilized. I was getting more energy. I was able to absorb and digest, and most importantly, assimilate the food that I was eating. Every time I would have a meal, I feel like it would sit in my stomach. And even though I wouldn't get the bloat instantly, I was definitely intolerant or allergic to certain things that were not being pinpointed on these GI tests and intolerance tests.
Okay, so it's not always accurate, those tests.
It's never accurate, and it really depends what you ate. It really depends,
Yes.
how your body's reacting to certain things. And it can be a bit confusing because I would do the tests in the beginning and I would have a weird reaction to parsley or to a pear. And then I would do it the week after and then they're gone. And then they just,
Really? I didn't know it fluctuates
It
like
does.
this. That's never been told to me. Because I actually was told, I don't know if this is true, basically if you eat something while you're in a stressed state of mind, you actually cause yourself a mini allergic reaction because your body is in a stressed state.
Yes.
So you're ingesting it while,
Correct.
like, so it will think it's a foreign body almost because it's not like in a smooth process. Is that true? Like
It is
if you
true.
do this?
And also there is a correlation. Like, for example, if you're intolerant to dairy
Okay.
and you're having dairy in a smoothie, let's say with a banana, the tests could be inaccurate in the sense that you would also show a bit of an intolerance to bananas. Just because it was mixed with a major group or an intolerance that you actually genuinely have.
When if you had the banana with nothing, you
Correct.
would be fine.
Exactly.
That's so important to know.
It
I wish
is.
there was like something on the test that would state this.
Usually functional doctors do say this is a high level understanding
Okay.
for us to just see where we should be really looking at, but usually beyond gluten, dairy, shellfish, these things, they would ignore all the others. And they
exactly.
usually go away on their own. But again, conventional way of testing is something that we're still seeing every single day when it comes to gut health. And really, it's a holistic approach.
1000%.
It's not one thing or one size that fits all.
Yeah, I agree. And so now you're into gut coaching, gut health coaching. So tell me about that. What sparked your, desire to help others, and how is a typical session with you?
It really happened organically. I wanted, first of all, to be the guinea pig in the beginning. I wanted to learn and understand what it really takes to heal and seal your gut, like I said, but also to look at my body holistically. I wanted to understand. I wanted to take that agency. I wanted to empower myself. I was so tired of asking male doctors, how I should be regulating my hormones, and maybe because the relationship was postpartum, that maybe hormones had anything to do with it. But of course, as I said, the typical hormone tests, blood tests, did not show anything or indicate an imbalance, and so they
just
send me
yes.
off.
Mm-hmm.
But I was adamant, and I wanted to understand, again, the holistic view of what really goes into my body. But I want to take that control. This is the true sense of empowerment that we talk about when it comes to us women. Empowering ourselves to learn more, to understand, to be more intuitive, to also just have this relationship with our body rather than try to shut out and numb symptoms.
Or understand it. That makes the
Yes,
biggest difference.
it does.
It's not like just a medication you're taking. When you actually understand how your body's working, you feel confident in that you know that you'll be okay because, okay, I'm in this week of my cycle, for example, and estrogen is higher, means inflammatory response is higher.
And in that journey, it organically happened that people were asking me questions like, Hadil, we know that postpartum you had this and that. Did you also have this? And I would say, yes, that's a common symptoms. What I would do is I would eat more of these nourishing foods. I would do this and that. And then they were like, oh my God, that's amazing. After a few days, they would feel better. And it organically happened that it was just the ripple effect of what I was learning, trying to just share more knowledge and information with my circle until it became a community. And when I launched the brand, I obviously had a bigger platform, an opportunity to share it across more people that have become also friends and family and client. But it all just happened so organically.
That's when I think some things are meant for you with destiny. Like when you don't go searching for it and chasing it, when it comes to you naturally and you enjoy it. It's not a homework assignment. It's meant for you. It's a calling, At least try it out. And now you're actually be able to help people.
Correct.
Not only through your coaching, but through your products, which we'll get into. But how are you handling as a mom 3 food concepts and 2 children? Like, how do you do it? And do you experience burnout? And a follow-up question, if you do, how does it affect your gut? Because we know of the mind-body connection.
Absolutely. Oh my God, mom entrepreneurship. It's balanced.
Yes, it
not
really
boring.
exactly. Thank you. I love when people include it. It's there. Yes, exactly.
Well, I'll be lying if I say it's 100% balanced all the time. I wing things a lot. I integrate them as much as I can with what I do every day. And honestly, it's a compromise. It's a sacrifice I do every day. We were talking about how guilt, once you become a mother, guilt is just there.
It's always there.
Everywhere.
It's
left, right, and center. But it's so important for me to understand that I also want my kids to know that this fulfills me. They are a big part of my life and I love them so dearly. And being a mother is close to nothing that it's my biggest achievement in that sense. But I also want to find things that fill my soul.
Of
and I'm
course.
so passionate about what I do. I love the ripple effect that I was talking about within my community. And I know that the brands are helping so many people. And also, you know, running a successful business, whether 1, 2, or 3, or even 5, requires a lot of sacrifices and winging things.
Of course. I think accepting that, like you're doing the best you can every day, it will look different. Some days are more kids focused, some days are more work focused. As long as you have a big picture mentality, by the end of each week, are you doing your best in each cup as much as you can? Things will progress.
Yes.
Everything will be
100%.
fine. But like as long as you're mindful and you're using your intuition, like, okay, I need to actually put a little bit more in the kids' cup today. I need to pour a little bit in the work cup today. But just having that on your mind, at least you're aware. That's all we can do.
But I did take it easy when I was launching the businesses when the kids were younger. When I opened the Rooster Tisseries door, Yara was in my tummy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Yara's close to 9 now. She's 8.5. And I remember, you know, I was taking it much easier. Now they're more independent. My eldest is almost 12. And, you know, I can tell that it's easier. Of course, it's more about quality now than it was before. Before it was all about filling needs and it's about, you know, how much time you can spend with them. But as they're older, it's more about quality time, which I ensure that I always spend at least 3 to 4 hours of quality time with them and that we always have dinner together as a family.
That's
and my
amazing.
husband is very involved with them as well. And I made sure in the beginning it was, you know, how the dynamic of an Arab family is.
Yeah, like you know,
but
hands
you're the
off.
mom.
No, exactly.
I was like, no.
I can't with that phrase, you know, like that's so old fashioned to me now. Yes.
And I was like, no, but you're the dad. And I think that dynamic now has changed with the modern family in a good way.
It truly takes a village.
Yeah,
yes,
it does.
It's a teamwork. We're very lucky in that sense to have the help. And your gut when it comes to stress and burnout. So how does that affect you personally?
Oh, I upped the dose with bone broth.
Okay.
The first thing I
Perfect
start my
segue.
day. Yeah, but honestly, the first thing I start my day is my first mug of bone broth. So I say first because then there's a second and usually a third.
Wow.
But you know, when I was in nutrition school, there were different school of thoughts and there were multiple doctors that were talking about what nourishment really means for them. And funny enough, they all had the same perspective of what bone broth really is, a gold elixir.
Yes.
So all the different doctors united in saying there was a healing power to bone broth. And that's where my quest sort of started. I was like, okay, if all these doctors, and you're talking about gurus in the functional space. At the time, it was Dr. Mark Hyman, Dr. Sears, Dr. Callan Petrucci, you know, all these amazing, Dr. Josh Aksa, all these amazing names in the functional wellness space were saying that bone broth is truly healing and it's so nourishing. And what I was looking after is nourishing my body as a woman, postpartum, but also I wanted something that balances the hormones, heals and seals the gut, gives me back the radiance, the glow, my hair that was falling off, all these different things. And bone broth ticked all these, you know, boxes. So I was like, you know what, let me try it. So I literally started my day with bone broth before my coffee, before my breakfast, before any sort of caffeine. And I incorporated it in my smoothie instead of all these nasty powders that we don't know where they're sourced, the emulsifier, preservatives, additives, all the additives that we don't really need are usually in these powders, even the cleanest organic form, by the way. So I replaced that into a clean, bioavailable source of protein and amino acids from the broth into my smoothies. And then the family meal is always cooked with some sort of bone broth. So I try to incorporate bone broth the way our ancestors used to cook. Yes. If you remember, your grandma,
of course,
my grandma would never really cook in water and deplete
that dish. It's like the essential part. They know. Maybe, you know, I feel like there's a lot of things back then. Like if you look at even our food, Arabic food, Mediterranean food, I can see why it's looked at as like a benchmark.
Anti-inflammatory.
Of course, like even the way they pair lemon juice with tabbouleh, like to absorb the iron.
The cofactors are
so
important.
They knew back then. Even leban ayran with like heavier foods, people drank it as like maybe a probiotic. Bone broth. So when you launched it, there probably wasn't many options in the market, right? Is that why you chose to do it then? So that's a smart business decision in the end. Like you liked it, you tried it on yourself and you saw the difference. Your gut started to feel better, right? How long did it take after trying bone broth every day?
Usually the gut lining takes about 4 to 6 weeks
to
repair itself. So we're not really changing the gut lining by just incorporating bone broth. We're accelerating. It's acting as a catalyst, but also as a source of mineral and a source of a remedy, because you want all the glutamine, proline, arginine, all the different amino acids. That complex spectrum of amino acids and protein profile is so important to heal and seal your gut from the inside. So if you think about it, leaky guts is what we were talking about. All the bloating, inflammation, all the different intolerances, allergies that we see in the gut is usually from something called the leaky gut syndrome.
Yes.
And leaky gut is, think of your internal intestines as a thin line, and they have pores in the middle.
Yeah.
And food that usually should be fine for you get through, and you get a reaction as simple as possible. So what happens is that how do we close these pores? But also there are things that are called villi, like the hairs that get out of the intestine. These are really how you absorb and assimilate the food. And these usually, because of all the intolerances that you're forming and the leaky gut, unfortunately get damaged. So bone broth is basically food to those villi, and they heal and seal the gut from the inside out. So what does that mean? Is that you would be able to digest and assimilate the food easier. You'd be able to absorb it back to your bloodstream, and you will basically cure your depletion. Because a lot of the times we think, oh, I just need more supplement and so and so. And we've seen women take ferritin and iron for decades and not really seeing a difference. And that's where you need to understand the why.
Yes.
Why are you not absorbing the iron? Why do you feel you need more zinc in your diet? Why is the question, not how much more.
Yeah.
And always starting with your gut, with sealing your gut is the answer.
So I have my experience as a case study. Hopefully it will help anybody who has a similar situation. But I wanted your 2 cents on this. So I actually had like a really bad case of gastritis, they call it. So like you're saying, the gut lining was affected.
Yes.
And this was starting not this August, the one before, after we came back from summer travel. So I don't know if it was a bacteria from different countries we went to, or the stress because we were alone and like kids. And you know, when you're in different countries and hotels, disaster. Like I couldn't enjoy myself, you know, even though it was my best friend's wedding, my cousin's wedding, we couldn't miss them, you know? So I came back destroyed. So I knew that there was something off because I've had my fair share of gut issues on and off in my 20s. Yeah. And I've done the intolerance testings, I've done all of that. But really I found out, so this last summer, I did see a conventional gastro doctor. She's so knowledgeable. She knows so much about anatomy, like no hate, you know, but I did do the standard testing that's covered under insurance. Unfortunately, but fortunately, it came back, everything was normal. I said, why do I have this pain? So I went to a functional doctor. I did more testing, the GI map. Found out I have low stomach acid, which in fact I was actually consuming PPIs, which are, you know, like why. Exactly. Yes. So I had low stomach acid, but my gastro, she did prescribe me antacid because I kept telling her I have burning sensation. And guess what the feeling, so the burning is food fermenting in my stomach, irritating the lining. And then it's just a cycle, right? So once I started healing the gut lining with my doctor, taking some homeopathic supplements and doing bone broth.
It's so important.
Wow. And your bone broth, but I didn't even know you back then, but I was taking it. And honestly, it helped so much. So what you're saying, I'm telling you guys, it's proven. The gut lining is everything.
Yeah, sadly, that's the first thing doctors would write when you have any sort of ulcer feeling, in a reflux, which makes things worse. And why do we need the pH in the gut to be acidic? Is because that's how the bacteria, pathogen, viruses are killed. And it's the first form of our defense. So even before we talk about the microbiome, the good, the bad bacteria, dysbiosis, and all the other, you know, reasoning of why we're having sort of gut issues, pH is the first point of defense. If your acid is slightly, if your pH is slightly alkaline in your gut, everything goes out of whack.
It's amazing. Yeah, because I would imagine the acid is what kills these bacteria and the parasites. And of course, through these GI tests, I found out I do in fact have bacteria and parasites, like I'm sure a lot of us do and we don't realize.
Correct.
Just from going out over the years, eating, you know, of course I like sushi and everything. But, you know, only through this kind of more invasive, detailed testing, I found out the answer. So it's all related, like you're saying. If I fix the lining, and I balance my pH, the bacteria can hopefully kill off by themselves without living on antibiotics, right? So
exactly what I said.
Yes.
I think what we're trying to do is through these remedies and understanding is to help the body heal itself
on
because that's
own.
what it does naturally anyway. We just want a bit of a catalyst. We want
exactly.
we want to just speed up the process, because sometimes the pain is too much for us to tolerate.
Of course.
Or because we want our lifestyle, our way of living.
Yeah.
But again, unfortunately, that has been the routine work for many of us, and that's why nutrition plays a huge role.
So people look at bone broth as food, but also for beauty from the inside and out. How does it help for nails, hair, and skin specifically?
Bone broth has gelatin. Gelatin is where the collagen is inside, and that's where it feeds in the skin, the hair, and the nails. But it really depends on the type. So chicken is type 1 and type 3. Beef and lamb is type 2. Fish is also type 1, marine broth. But what I was trying to say here is it really targets different areas. So if we want the inner gut lining to be boosted, to be healed, we want to focus more on the bone marrow broth. If we want the beauty aspects, so the skin, the nails, the hair, you want more chicken broth. And of course, joints, ligaments, all of that. So bone health as well. And so on. It's so beautiful to see how nature has created different things for different targets.
Yeah.
And it really depends what someone is battling or going through. And sometimes immunity is just their ultimate aim. And with immunity, believe it or not, it's the vegan broth.
Oh, really?
So the vegan shiitake, it has a lot of miso, fermented miso, which is a great source of probiotic. It has a lot of shiitake, medicinal shiitake mushrooms, which is a great immunity booster. And you have a lot of kelp and kombu seaweed, which is a source of iodine, great for hormonal balance, by the way, as well. So that is a great immunity booster. So we want to look at bone broth as well, but vegan broth is also a powerhouse on its own.
Yeah, you forget about it.
Yeah, you forget how medicinal plant living things are. So looking at that spectrum, this is where we see the aftermath. After you've healed and sealed your gut, the beauty is really from the inside. Everything that you're eating that's supposed to nourish your hair, giving you more folate, give you all the rich ferritin, becomes easier to absorb from food, because you've healed and sealed the gut. And that's where you see these beauty aspects improve.
Yeah. I mean, you can take all the supplements or put all the creams, but I know, like, realistically, if your gut is affected, your skin will look dull and you might have breakouts, because, again, like with our last episode with Joelle, our functional practitioner, she mentioned this.
Yes.
Like, you really need the gut to be able to absorb these nutrients as well,
100%.
so that it shows, and your skin is the first place to show if there's an issue.
We're not even digesting food properly. Do you think you're going to be digesting all those supplements?
Yeah, exactly.
Either?
They're not even, as bioavailable as we'd like, right? We're going to put some different things head to head now. So we have collagen powders, IV drips, and Botox. Obviously, all of them are for beautifying. Which of them actually give women the biggest bang for their buck compared to bone broth? Be honest.
Look, I would say IV drips.
Okay.
Because we've really seen a correlation in improving a lot of those depleted sort of minerals and vitamins. And yeah, I would say that. But again, it doesn't replace food for sure.
Okay, so maybe a combo, or maybe a bone broth IV drip one day. That would be the best kind of collab that you can do.
Well, lucky for us, bone broth is easy to digest and assimilate. And it's bioavailable.
Thank goodness, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, how about in detoxing? So it's said that micronutrients help your body's natural detox pathways.
Correct.
Can you explain more on what that means?
So with bone broth, particularly, it helps flush your liver. And we talk a lot about the correlation between the liver and gut health, especially when it comes to us women with hormonal health. We all know how estrogen is really required to be in certain doses, and how you have to detoxify the remaining so you don't absorb it. And you do that through the liver, through the gut, and through literally stool, the elimination process. And if that is not happening properly because your liver is overwhelmed by a lot of our beauty regimen that we're seeing now, all the Botox, the fillers, all the, estrogen disruptors,
the chemical infused fragrances,
everything really. Endocrine disruptors are another whole thing that now we're seeing more and more research on. But if your liver is tired for whatever reason, and then your gut requires a lot of repairing, and you're not going to the bathroom often, that's going to manifest in a lot of hormonal imbalances and disruptions. So it's so important to also look of when you're doing a bone broth cleanse to see how your gut is being repaired, because you're flushing a lot of the toxins. that are also part or a factor of why your gut is not being repaired the way it should be.
Yeah.
So when you eliminate all these toxins, regulate your hormones, you see the repair being faster.
Modern medicine has sometimes disappointed women. Why do you think now people are starting to gain this momentum and going to these ancestral remedies? Like, what are they benefiting from by going back in time?
It's so funny. If you look at how the future is really backwards. We're looking about fermentation, slow cooking, slow simmering,
slow living,
looking at the way our ancestor was living. And it's crazy if you see how as much as we advance with AI and technology and, research-driven pathways, we're still going back to the way our ancestors used to live. I think the answer is there. If we go back and see all these blue zones countries with 100 plus, aging communities, and they had few things in common. They all ate seasonal from the earth. They all had a sense of belonging and community. And they all understood and honored their DNA by just living as part of a culture. So they all honored the cultural, staples in their kitchen. And if we all looked back about where we originally came from, and we honored that sort of DNA rather than just went international with our cuisine, you would really see the answers are usually there.
You said in prior interviews also that 80% of immunity resides in the gut. How does bone broth play into that conversation, and why is it so important?
If we want to talk about how our microbiome is our immunity defense, it also shapes who you are, Judy. Definitely. How you talk, how our eye contact, how we represent ourselves is all from our microbiome as well. When that's off, you're a different person, you're a different character. So if your mood, if your whole existence almost is depending on your microbiome and how your gut is working, then why are we not looking after it the way we should?
So that's why it's connected. And I think disregarding the gut or the pain or these signals you're getting, you shouldn't do that, because if you're having these issues more than for 3-4 weeks at a time, look into it. There's a root issue.
Yeah.
And then you'll feel healthier overall long term, because now it's flu season as well, right?
Correct, yes.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so important to incorporate bone broth for the little ones'
Exactly.
meals. And that's why I launched Little Munchkins, Mini Moo, and the Mini Cluck as part of our SKUs, as part of our bone broth profile.
Yeah, you read my mind. I think we're telepathic. You've done it twice now. You're coming. You beat me to my next question, because I was going to ask you, is it because you were our mom and you have that firsthand experience with kids, you wanted to boost their immunity? Like, what made you launch that, and when did you launch it, and as opposed to the main Broth Lab line?
Yeah, for sure. As a mother, I can understand and relate to the struggles of every other mother. I mean, who understands us better than ourselves,
of course,
right? We know how picky the kids can be. You know how stubborn they can be when they want certain meal, and we've already cooked and created, a very nice,
of course,
nourishing meal for them, and they're like, no, but I want plain pasta. And sometimes we gotta give in, because you can't force it or shove it down their throat. This is where, I started saying, you want just noodles? Fine, I'll cook the noodles in bone broth.
They don't know.
And I add some of their favorite vegetables, whether it's bok choy, it's carrots, whatever it is, broccoli, and I add it in. I was like, here's your meal, fine. You don't want that roasted chicken. You don't want that, mlokhiyeh with or elevated, meal. I'm fine. I'm not going to fight with you. So I felt it was the easiest way to incorporate protein, all the different minerals and amino acids that we were talking about, because I think there's so much obsession over vitamins. Did you get your vitamins checked? Did you do a CBC? But nobody's talking about how these micronutrient minerals are so important for us.
Of course.
The manganese, the magnesium, the sulfur, the phosphorus that are usually come from fertile soils, sources, and soils are depleted now because of there's no regenerative agriculture, the way we're not eating farm to table, the way, just the foods.
Storage and the delay, of course.
The majority of the vegetables are actually depleting on the shelves. There's so much mold. And unfortunately, we're not getting our daily percentages of what we require for our macros and micros. And the easiest way to incorporate it is through bone broth. So if we can add a little bit in the kids' meals, you're ticking those boxes. Okay, my child didn't eat much, is not feeling well, or
is picky.
Then that's the easiest way to ensure that they're having their nutrients.
So if every household in Dubai swapped soda or juice that these kids usually drink for bone broth, what changes would we actually see in the public health in 5 years? What would you see?
First of all, we will see less diseases. there will be almost no autoimmune as the kids grow older, and you'll see much more resilient kids. Again, we're not looking for health. Health is not linear. You know, we understand that health comes and goes, and we, you know, it's normal part of us as humans to get sick, to get better. But what we want here is resilience, okay? Especially as their body is so young now. They're growing at a 3x the rate that we adults are aging. And we want to ensure that they're getting all they need to grow healthy, right? But what we're seeing more and more is that unfortunately their stomachs are small. So they're only capable of eating very little. And even with that, they're picky. We cave into their cravings. They're having too much sugar and ultra processed foods, and they're not eating enough of what they're required to grow. So if we swap at least the sodas, the canned
juice,
milks,
yes.
the milk, of course, the processed dairy and all of these things that we're seeing in most lunch boxes with bone broth, then you will definitely see more resilient kids. And that's what we need. We need kids that when they fall sick, they get back quicker.
Yes.
You know, we're finding an issue with.
So this is the next fun part. We're going to go over some things that we've seen in your research, and we want you to validate if they're true or false. Are you ready?
Yep.
So some of it we've briefed over, but let's just summarize now. You have to drink liters of it daily for it to actually be effective.
False.
True or false?
1 mug a day keeps the doctor
One mug away. That's perfect. That's so easy to remember, and it tastes so good. So I'm down. Bone broth instantly, like in 1 second, detoxes your body. True or false?
No, false. It takes time. It takes consistency. Like we said, 4 to 6 weeks is how long the gut lining repairs itself. And I think consistency is key.
Okay. It's gradual.
It's gradual.
And it's a lifestyle thing.
It is.
So 1 cup of bone broth has less protein than 1 egg. True or false?
Depends on the type. I would say false because of the bioavailability. Again, if your gut is not optimum, it won't absorb the protein from the egg the way you would. But protein in the broth is bioavailable, so you would get as much, if not more. And also depends on the type. Chicken would have less bone marrow, and lamb would have more.
Oh,
so I
see,
would
it's
disagree.
important to know, yes. All bone broths were created equal.
False.
You're like, I know the best one. No, I totally agree.
The
Like,
simmering
it depends.
process
Yes.
is so important. It has to be long, slow simmered, and you can't put it in a pressure cooker or in these NutriBullet pressure thing. You can't. The bones have to become part of the elixir. So
they really melt down.
They have to melt down and be part of the soup for you to feel like you've extracted all these different
Yes,
amino acids
totally.
and all these electrolytes, minerals that we were talking about.
Yeah. So 15 hours, right?
At least 15 hours, I would say.
Yeah.
The bone broth the broth lab is 15 hours.
Okay.
But you could do it even to 24 hours.
Amazing. Okay. It's packed with amino acids. True. I can even answer this. And it repairs gut lining. True.
Yes.
So there's obviously so many benefits. And now, so to close off our wonderful conversation, we just want to see, what do you think if someone could only make one wellness swap? Why should it be bone broth over anything else?
I think ancestral superfoods have been around, backed by research, but also we've seen over the generations how important it is to incorporate more of the way our ancestors used to eat, cook, and heal. There was so much wisdom back in the old days. And 2,000, 3,000 years ago, different cultures, different, parts of the world, they all incorporated bone broth as a healing remedy. And like we said, the soils are not fertile. Bone broth has always been a healing remedy for generations, no matter where your demographics are from, what culture or nationality you're from. I think there's so much wisdom in that.
And I think there's 2 multivitamins that I see through food. For me, it's eggs, and for me, it's bone broth. The problem with eggs is that it's maybe not everyone can handle eggs. Yeah. It's a bit of an inflammatory for some, but bone broth is so healing. So if you can't do eggs, have bone broth or have both. Yes. You're good. What's next for Broth Lab? You're always developing new things.
Yeah.
Can you tell us?
Actually, I can. We're developing a new line under the Broth Lab, which is the beef tallow, grass-fed tallow, and grass-fed lamb tallow, which we're dropping soon. You're the first to know, by the way.
Oh, that's so great. Okay, don't tell anyone until we launch this episode. I feel flattered.
First, under balance, not boring.
Oh, amazing. This will be, we're definitely making a clip out of this for you. Yeah, that's awesome. And beef tallow now is, everyone's talking about it. Just to cook fries is how they used to make it with beef tallow.
That's how we cook the fries at the Roost.
Oh, so good. By the way, I'm going there ASAP
We
now.
couldn't, bottle them as much as we want, but now we can.
Oh,
And
that's so great. It's going to help so many people to buy it and use it at home for cooking
so
as well.
important.
I'm happy you're making that.
Yeah,
I will
me
be the
too.
first customer as well.
Yeah.
Thank you. And so people who haven't tried Broth Lab, I know it's widely available, but can you list a few places people can find it?
Yeah, on www.brothlab.ae, we also have a subscription model where people can go in and they can choose weekly or monthly deliveries, and we drop it 15-hour simmered broth at their doorstep in 15 minutes.
Oh, wow. No way. That's really quick. So through you directly, and then you're obviously sold in different vendors as
Yes,
well, right?
yeah.
InstaShop and...
InstaShop, Kipsons, Deliveroo, Sweetrams,
Yes.
so many different platforms.
Oh, that's so great. So everyone who is hesitant, you don't have to be anymore because it's so easy to find. You've done an amazing job
Thank you.
with your channels, honestly. And I can attest that it tastes really good, or else I wouldn't be promoting it, you know? It actually is nice to have. And thank you for tuning into this special episode, everyone. We hope you feel equipped to start your natural detox journey using bone broth. If you're going through some health challenges or changes, remember you're not alone. A lot of us have been there. And there's always natural ways to start based on proven ancient remedies. Thank you, Hadil, for being here and your amazing insights. We're so excited to see you soon and try more of your yummy treats.
Thank you, Judy.
Thank
for
you,
having me.
guys. Really
Thank you.
lovely.